everyone, welcome back to my channel Klinger2. Today's video I'm going to be talking about 5 ways that I think Pokemon can definitely improve on in the future as far as co-op multiplayer is concerned. So when I first started playing this game on Friday, I did play with my friend for most of that day. And what I discovered was there's a lot of issues with it. The performance of the game is already shaky as is to bad. Just the graphics are overall bad. But I think the co-op multiplayer can definitely... It has some also issues on its own that I think should be addressed. And I'm going to go into those that I think they could be somewhat fixed. I don't know if easily, but I think they could be somewhat fixed. So first off, I think we should have gym battles that are viewable by TV in-game. And the reason why I say this is because when my friends are playing, we're fighting this one gym. We fought the first gym. And when we went to the sequence, he couldn't see me fight the gym leader, which I thought was kind of not cool necessarily, because now we're kind of like not playing the same game anymore. We're kind of like separate from the game. And I think that's kind of a big deal when it comes to multiplayer co-op, is whenever you do something, you do it like kind of together. So if you go fight a boss, they can see you fight the boss. So to me, there's a pretty easier solution for this. I don't know if it's easy for the game, but they have a lot of stuff to already set this up, right? So we got reporters that have been in the game for a very long time, as far as back I remember, probably like Gen 3, maybe Gen 2. I don't know for sure, though. I know they were in Gen 4. But we got reporters, and, they just walk around most of the games, and they just kind of put the camera in your face, and they're talking like, oh, you're going to be the big champion and stuff like that. Oh, you beat this gym leader. They could be like the sidemen for that, maybe walk up to you while you're like about to fight the gym leader and then stuff like that, and showcase you on the TV, and your friend can watch that happen and stuff like that, which would be pretty cool. Maybe give you like an interview. Some people may not like that, but some people may think that's like pretty cool. You can like do that with your friend and stuff. Next off is having these like the camera angle just kind of zoom around the like battlefield, like how you have like the stadiums and stuff like that from Gen 9, or you have the stadiums from even Gen 8. Even Scarlet and Violet have a decent sized stadiums for most of Gen battles. And I think having something like a sky cam, like from the American football or football games, where it just kind of zooms around the field and you can see different angles and stuff like that would be really neat. So this is the Gen 8 field that I was talking about. So like the camera was zooming around here, you could see like the different angles of like the Pokemon you're fighting with and their Pokemon on the gym leaders teams and stuff like that. Which is pretty neat. And this is another example of just another kind of like stadium. You got the tents from basically Gen 3, and this idea has been a very prominent feature in like this whole series, is having kind of like a big arena for these like Pokemon battles. Now, if your friends are in the game, they can go on the TV and just watch you play against these gym leaders, because I feel like in the actual game it would be a big deal, right? Or the anime, that as someone's challenging the gym leaders, seeing if they win or not. So it would make sense to me that your basically friend would be able to watch you on TV. There's a lot of TVs in the game. This is a TV that you see in your house when you start the game. It's pretty much in every single one of the games. Not the flat screen, but different iterations of TVs. The computer's always been there, but like the TV is normally on a box in some games. But yeah, all in all, basically you could watch your friend on the TV. You can like click on it and like maybe see like the camera angles of this kind of zooming around the like field and stuff like that, which would be really cool. Or you can see him, like if this is a battle tower from Gen 8, and you can see him on the TV back here while you're like talking to this dude, and like it's like playing in the background, like your friend fighting the gym leader, or maybe maybe they are on the battle tower, and they're like, you can see him fighting there, which I think would be pretty neat if you could do that. So yeah, that's number 1, having gym battles where you can view them from the TV in game. So number 2 is double battles with trainers and wild Pokemon. This, I feel like, should have just been in that game by default, but it's not. So we're just going to go into this a little bit. So double battles has been a really big thing in Pokemon since their inception, with basically competitive Pokemon taking a huge liking to them. A lot of moves are based around double battles. Not, the game's not built for double battles when you play it, but it has a lot of double battle capability. But that's not really what I was going into with this. I'm going more for just like the sheer like fact that you can play with your friends more. It's more interactive with your friends, which is what I feel like a multiplayer game should be whenever you're making one. So we got double battles. This is already in the game. This is another thing. This is already a thing you can do with the CPUs or the NPCs from previous generations. This is Gen 4, the original games. And I honestly forgot your partner's name here, but he helps you out throughout the game sometimes. I think this is one of the main ones where you're going through the Team Galactus like hideout or whatever. And you're like fighting him, and he throws out a Pokemon, you throw out a Pokemon, and you double battle. Now, this could easily be approached with basically your friend. If you have a trainer battle, let's say there's specific trainer fights that are double battles. If you can just join up, maybe you have like a notification like when a raid starts. You can click on it, and then it initiates the double battle. Something like that. That would kind of make sense, since it would be kind of weird just like starting a double battle, like, especially with how like the game works now, with like talk to the trainers. Maybe it's like you talk to them, it gives you their like prompt, and then you can send a message out to your friend in the lobby, being like, "Hey, you want to fight with me on this fight or something like that?" That'd be pretty neat, I think. Anyway, definitely for double battles, that should be a thing. Or at the very least, if that's not an option, put a battle tower in that you can do this specifically for. So you can double battle in the battle tower with your friend and climb the tower. I feel like that would be really, really fun for a lot of people. Next up, we got just wild encounters with double battles. So this was I think this was a very specific thing to Gen 6, but this was where you got 5 Pokemon versus 1. And I forgot what these were called, to be honest, but this was an actual thing. I remember doing this. And yeah, so this has been a thing that's been done before, where you get a lot of Pokemon in here. And like I said, you can potentially go through here with, let's say, this style of combat, like Wizard 101, where you start, and especially with the families of Pokemon, this could very much be a thing. If you're playing Scarlet and Violet, you notice that there's like a family of Pokemon, or they all group together with one type. And then normally sometimes they have like a big Pokemon, like if you're walking along, you see, I don't know, a Starly. You might see a Staravia or even a Staraptor in some cases, depending on how far along in the game you are. So to me, it would be kind of makes sense here. You could potentially start a fight with your dude. You run into, let's say, a Starly, right? You throw out your Pokemon, and then your friend basically runs in the fight with you, like this, and then they get another Starly that joins, and now you have a double battle versus that Starly, and it can progress depending on the turns with up to 4 people, because that would make sense because you have 4 people in the lobby, right? So that could very much be a thing with this kind of information here, and even at that, you could potentially make it like that for the there's been triple battles in the past. There's even been rotation battles in the past. They can literally just put this in as a gimmick. This doesn't need to be like a competitive anything. This could just be a straight up like just gimmick for this generation or the next generation or even a DLC, and just try it out. See if people like it. Make the arena like Wizard 101 here, and then have your Pokemon basically can fight like different angles and stuff like that. Like you can, if you have a multi-hitting move, it still hits like double battles, but if you don't, I mean, it could be very cool, I feel like, honestly. Not really competitive, but for casual senses, it could be really neat. So yeah, that's that. Double battles for everybody or more. So next up, we got Safari Zone. This is one of my favorite ideas I think I would have for the newer generations, for sure. Safari Zone looks like this in older generations. Something along those lines. Different generations, they have different Safari Zones. They kind of done away with it so far, I think for the past 2 or 3 gens. I don't know the exact number, but they have done away with it for now, it seems like. But with Legends Arceus' catching mechanic being a thing, the Safari Zone would be an absolute disservice to the community to not have if you have Legends Arceus mechanics at this point. Because now we've seen what Legends Arceus is like. There's no reason not to put it in future games, right? So basically how this works is, for anyone who has not played it, you get a ball, which is your Pokeball. You got the bait, and you got the rock. I don't really know what the rock does. I think the bait attracts him a little bit more to make him a little bit, like, comfortable around you. I don't know exactly the mechanics behind this. All I know is that you can throw a ball. You throw the ball out, it catches the Pokemon, or it doesn't catch the Pokemon. Wow, sounds a lot like Legends Arceus, does it? Most of this has to do with, Legends Arceus plays a little bit differently because you can throw the orange berries on the ground and the Pokemon come over and run up against it. You can throw the Pokeball and, like, kind of get a surprise, like, catch on them and stuff like that. But the thing is, in the future games, you don't need to have the Arceus mechanic 100% throughout the game. I don't think you need to, because I think there might be there should be somewhat of the base game, the core value of the base game with the fighting mechanics where you can fight and then catch them. I think that should be a staple in all core games, that mechanic. But in the Safari Zone, this would be literally the prime time to use the Arceus mechanic. And the thing is, the Safari Zone normally has all the cool Pokemon in it, right? So you got all the cool Pokemon. I just put an example of Pixelmon up here. You got all the cool Pokemon up here. And a lot of times you have legendaries, you have very rare Pokemon, you have Pokemon you transfer from other games in these. So you can add in all the crazy Pokemon and try to catch them that way. I think this is, like I said, this would be a great example. And if you have your friends, you can go into the Safari Zone together and literally do the Legends Arceus mechanics with each other. And maybe you have a game mode in here where it's like a time thing where you catch a certain amount of Pokemon at a certain time, and if you catch more than your friend during that time frame, you get like an extra bonus item or something. I don't know. It's just like this would be literally the best way to implement the Arceus mechanic if they were to do it. I think hands down this would be the best way. So yeah, Safari Zone I think would be an absolutely necessity for future iterations of this franchise. That's just my opinion. Next up, we got in-depth raid battles. So first off, we got the Gen 8 raid dens, which expanded upon the raids. But we kind of regressed a little bit now. We're in Gen 9. We're back to basically just literally going into the raids, beating up the Pokemon, catching the Pokemon. There's no more raid dens. It's just beat up the Pokemon, catch the Pokemon. So with that said, they did more of the Pokemon Go style raids where you can kind of do just clicking a lot and then try to button mash your way through it with basically getting your attacks out as fast as possible, which isn't a bad approach. I don't mind it at all. I like Pokemon Go's mechanics in the first place, so it doesn't bother me. But to make this more fun with your friends, I think if you were to have, for instance, you go into these raid dens together, right? So you bring back the raid dens. And you have challenges for each raid den. Like, let's say you have a race to catch a certain amount of Pokemon. You have defeat X amount of raid bosses. Land X amount of super effectives. Make it to the end without fighting any Pokemon. Since you can see the Pokemon now, if you make it to the end of, this linear path, you can basically complete the challenge and move on to the next part, right? Or you do multiples of these challenges, and then you move on to the next part. And then what the next part would be something along the lines of fighting maybe like a Shadow Cynthia, where she has Shadow Garchomp. It's a weaker version of Garchomp, but maybe a different type Garchomp. It's like an alternate variant of these past gym leaders, champions and stuff like that. Maybe even Giovanni's at the end of this, and Giovanni has electric type Persian that has, just some weird stuff. Maybe it has maybe even throwing a G-Max move from way back when. Maybe you have a iteration of older gens kind of seeping through this. And then maybe you can fight a normal guy, like a fisherman. Maybe that'd be cool. He throws out 10 Magikarps against you, but this time they're kitted to the nines and they have 1,000 attack or something like that. And they just use Splash. It does it obliterates your whole team. I don't know. Just something along those lines where you have basically a boss battle at the end of this. And then you can, this is all timed. I think that'd be fun, having a timer so you can try to race your friends to the end of this essentially. And seeing how that turns out. And then instead of really winning Pokemon at the end, because I think that's kind of overdone at this point. I kind of get it's super linear. It's you go to raids to fight Pokemon to get the best odds of shinies. Most of the time, best odds of good stats, best odds of different terrestrialization types at this point, Dynamax levels and stuff like that. Instead of doing that, I think it'd be cool to catch the Pokemon or whatever it is that you're trying to at the end of the game, basically, or during your challenges. Instead of getting that, I think it would be cool to get something along the lines like a cosmetic item. And Pokemon's kind of branched into this, but they don't reward anybody for doing anything in game to get these cosmetics like 90% of the time. If they do, it's very like minuscule. So they had these little seals from Gen 4 that they took out of the game because people were writing bad things with them. Simple as that. Because they give them too much power as far as that goes. But they can refine this and make it to where you only have like one seal or maybe two seals that are permanently selected to a way, or maybe just take out like numbers and letters completely and bring back the seals, and then just make it to where you can put as many as you want on, but it has to be like, it can be limited to a certain amount. So what I'm saying is, like, let's say you beat this thing faster than your friend and you get a cool seal. That'd be pretty neat. Or you had go up against AI and you can do the same thing. You have these in-depth raid battles with your like AI, against an AI bot and see if you can beat them. Then you get the seal. They could be cool seals, Maybe they make one that has like, it looks like a literal lightning storm when you open up the ball. It looks like a literal like volcano like spewing out lava from like the inside of the Pokeball when it comes out, let's say. I don't know. Just some crazy stuff you could do with that. Next up, we got the trainer card. You could, make maybe a cool background for your trainer card. Like, I don't know, you have a cool, almost like Pokemon card artwork on the back of this for like some of the like alt arts from Pokemon now. Or maybe you get a really cool outfit that you can't get otherwise, and you have like maybe 30 of those to like hunt and chase, and then maybe some of them drop rare like times, and you have to like fight 5-star difficulty raid dens and stuff like that to like get the super high up like gear and stuff like that. We're all like level 100 about to like kill you instantly type raid dens, That'd be pretty cool. Or you make a really cool like home base like Monster Hunter or World does, and then you can go gather like things and bring them back. Maybe you have like a cool Garchomp statue or Garchomp head or something like that, or you make like a dining table with like Quagsire cloth or something like that, and you put like a rug down that has like a bunch of starters on it. That'd be really neat. I think if they had like a really cool home base that's not this like cheesy last minute thought of process, but like an actual like really in depth like cool home base design that you can actually like build up, it will give me or other players incentives to like run these raids instead of just catching Pokemon that I don't really need to catch. I can go on Showdown and play the game for free, make a team 80%, 8,000% faster than I can ever do in this game. And I can just do that. This would make me want to play a game more, is what I'm saying. And to be fun with your friends to like race against them in this. So in-depth raid battles would be really cool. Next up, I think this needs to be a thing, I think, more than anything at this point. This is already a thing. Being able to make a custom world. Boom. 25 best ROM hacks of 2022. That is this year's ROM hacks. That's 25 best ROM hacks. And I guarantee you the bottom probably 5 to 10 are probably not that great. But the thing is, there's over probably 300 of these that are just accessible everywhere online. People want good Pokemon games. Some want really hard Pokemon games like Pokemon Reborn or Rejuvenation or like Fire Red. Or the reiteration of Fire Red, I should say. Some of them want to be just more creative and make their own Pokedex. They just want to go out there and just make their own game, essentially. That's fine. There's a lot of them that have really weird gimmicks. Like there's this one where you fuse Pokemon. Or you might have one where you level up, like, you ROM hack it to where every single time you level up, you evolve into a different Pokemon. There's all these different ROM hacks that have been made over the past recent years that I don't even understand why this isn't a thing by Nintendo officially. And I don't even think it's really that hard to do at the end of the day, okay? So let's say, I'm just going to explain this and just how my thought process goes. You got the dock, which is the Nintendo Switch's dock. You got USB ports, right? Nintendo is basically like the king of making useless / really innovative like hardware. So you got the e-reader. First off, the Wii Remote's one of them. So if you've ever seen the Wii Remote, it has like the motion controls. You got the e-reader for the Game Boy, which you swipe Pokemon cards in to like get items in game. I'm pretty sure is what they gave you. You got the GameCube. GameCube on the bottom here has a Game Boy Advance attachment. You can play the Game Boy Advance games on your GameCube and stream it to the TV. Cool stuff, right? Well, the thing is, now we've gone to the age of Nintendo understanding how the internet works. So you basically got the mystery gifts. You could literally, and why I'm saying this is when you're making these Pokemon, to make these custom Pokemon, you could potentially basically have a Nintendo-assisted website that you upload your animations to of the Pokemon, the actual models of the Pokemon. You make sure they're aligned with the game's code. You mystery gift them into the Pokemon game. Or you use a hardware like this, like the e-reader or the Game Boy Advance attachment to the game, like GameCube, something along those lines, and you stick the Pokemon into the basically game or the holding cell for the potential custom world. And how I'd imagine this worked is it's basically a separate entire game mode from the game, and it's like Forge and Halo. So you basically make your own world. Now for the actual stat distribution, attacks, and stuff like that, Showdown already explains that you can do this relatively. I don't know how this works. I just know that Showdown does it, and they do it with every single Pokemon, and they have everything listed, and you can make your own Pokemon in quite literally minutes. Okay? These Pokemon is super simple. You got your moves, you got your IVs and EV spreads, you got your item, you got your ability, then you got your Pokemon. You can even change the genders and stuff like that. Super simple. They can do this. I believe in them. They already do this as is. They just don't give it to us to like make custom worlds. And it's been, I don't even know how long since this game's been out, for about 20 plus years at this point. And the reason why I say this is because there's this game called Super Mario Maker. Okay, they have 2 iterations of this at this point. At the bare minimum, this should be a thing for any and every version of the Game Boy. I would even say to the early DS games, up to Gen 5. This should be a thing where you can make a 2D Pokemon game within a month's time. Like a full-blown world, essentially. If you knew what you were doing. And you can just basically drag and drop blocks in, which is how you kind of do, Mario Maker. But you do it for Pokemon. Now, if you were to do this with a 3D world, it'd be a little bit harder because you actually have to do the geometry and, get the 3D terraforming and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I don't even think that's too far-fetched if they really wanted to make it that way. I wouldn't really suggest that because the entry level of that is much more harder than doing it 2D. But this should be a thing. 1000%. We should be able to go in there and make an overworld for Pokemon, like a Game Boy game, like a Mario Maker. Like I said, this stuff is not new. This stuff is, everyone wants to make their own Pokemon game. It's just how it goes. And how I would see this happen is, let's say you have, you have all your grass blocks here, and you have just, the caves and stuff like that. You go in here, you highlight all of them, like this is a Photoshop example. You highlight all the layers you want to select, and then you take your imported Pokemon or the already existing Pokemon, and then you make a spawn rate for them. Simple enough. You make a spawn rate for the Pokemon you want to spawn in those areas, which I'm assuming is how it works in general. So now you already assign the blocks. You assign these blocks with values to spawn these Pokemon in. Now all you need to do, since the game already has all the attacks, it has all the stats, it has all of that stuff, you import all these Pokemon. Now you just need to make the world somewhat approachable, And then you add in a few legendaries, and you call it a good day. Or maybe you even have the ability to import your own sprites / layout to the game. Maybe, I don't know, that'd probably be too advanced. Maybe. But at the end of the day, I think this is a very approachable thing. And this is breaching from co-op multiplayer to just multiplayer in general. Because I would like to see this be uploaded to where you can play with your friends at the same time on these games that you make. Or you give it the world to your friend and they can play on your world, vice versa. So at the end of the day, this is what I would really like to see in Pokemon with these 5 changes. Do I think this one's that feasible? No, I think 1 through 3 is pretty feasible though. But yeah, I would really like to see them make an effort to make their games better with performances. I mean, I'm not even going to lie here. If I didn't like Pokemon, this game would not be impressive at all. The game is actually fun to play, but it is absolutely a terrible experience as far as everything goes and concerns to just the sheer amount of just performance issues, graphics. I mean, obviously those would be number 1 to fix, but I'm kind of skipping over that. Okay. So yeah, thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you on the next one. And thank you guys for watching all the other videos as well. It's really cool. Keeps me wanting to make these more. So yeah, have a good day, everyone. Bye.